Let's just jump right into it. Welcome to this complete technical explainer on R-1234yf. This is the mandated new standard in automotive air conditioning. And honestly, if you're a shop owner, a technician, or just a serious gearhead, you absolutely need to understand this stuff. The industry is right in the middle of a massive shift, and I guarantee you this chemical is already sitting in your service bay.
So we've got a really solid roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with the catalyst for change, break down the chemical profile and safety, compare the performance directly to the old R-134A, cover the incredibly strict new laws and penalties, and wrap up with the specialized servicing and equipment you're going to need.
All right, Section 1, the catalyst for change. Let's look at why this is actually happening.
Okay, so take a look at these numbers. The global warming potential, or GWP, of the old R-134A was 1,430. Basically, that means it was over 1,000 times more potent than carbon dioxide at trapping heat in the atmosphere. Now, R-1234yf, its GWP is less than 1. It is quite literally 400 times less harmful to the environment. From a chemistry standpoint, that is just a monumental leap forward.
And if you're sitting there thinking, I can just ignore this for a few more years, you really can't. By 2025, 100% of new vehicles manufactured for the U.S. market use R-1234yf. We're talking about over 125 million of these cars already on the road right now. And here's the real kicker for repair shops. Roughly 15 million of those vehicles exit their factory warranty every single year. So this isn't some distant future problem, right? These cars are rolling into your shop today.
Let's move on to Section 2, chemical profile and safety.
First off, what even is this stuff? R-1234yf is what's known as a hydrofluoroolefin, or HFO for short. It was engineered jointly by Honeywell and DuPont to meet some really strict new global environmental directives. It's chemically designed to have literally zero impact on the ozone layer. Plus, if it escapes into the open atmosphere, it actually breaks down into naturally occurring acids in a matter of days. That is a huge deal compared to the older hydrofluorocarbons that would just linger up there for decades.
But well, here's where the controversy started. Unlike previous refrigerants like R-134A, which were completely non-flammable, R-1234yf carries an ASHRAE A2L classification. In plain English, that means it's technically considered mildly flammable. And let me tell you, when this was first announced, it caused a total panic across the automotive world.
But let's actually look at the data before we freak out. Extensive independent testing, especially by SAE International, proved that it requires an extreme temperature of over 900 degrees Celsius to actually ignite. That is 1,650 degrees Fahrenheit. They tested things like minimum ignition energy, and it turns out a typical static discharge under the hood doesn't pack anywhere near enough energy to light this stuff up.
I love this quote from auto service professional Gordon Jacks because it really puts the whole flammability fear into perspective. He points out that yes, it will burn, but almost every other fluid under the hood is going to light more easily and burn hotter. Think about it. Your motor oil, brake fluid, transmission fluid, all of those are way more dangerous than this refrigerant. Modern AC systems are incredibly safe, so real-world ignition is just highly, highly unlikely.
Okay, Section 3. R-134A versus R-1234yf performance.
If you glance at the operating pressures of these two refrigerants, they are virtually identical across the board. Look at 80 degrees Fahrenheit. R-134A is sitting at 118 psi, and R-1234yf is at 115 psi. They behave almost exactly the same thermodynamically, which is exactly why automakers chose it as a near drop-in replacement.
When we talk about raw cooling power, R-1234yf hits about 95 to 98% of the efficiency of the old R-134A. However, and pay attention because this is a big however, it requires totally unique system calibrations. Automakers had to go in and redesign expansion valves, optimize compressors, and tweak heat exchangers just to handle a slightly higher discharge temp and different flow rates. Because everything is so tightly calibrated, you absolutely cannot freely swap one refrigerant for the other.
Which brings us to Section 4, strict laws and penalties.
I want you to pay very close attention to this number. If a technician decides they want to save a few bucks and illegally retrofits an R-1234yf system with the older, cheaper R-134A, they are risking a staggering EPA civil penalty of up to $45,268 per non-compliant vehicle. Let that sink in. Over $45,000 per car.
Now, why is the fine so astronomically high? Well, under Section 203 of the Clean Air Act, using anything other than the factory-designated refrigerant is legally classified as tampering with a vehicle emissions control device. You see, automakers actually get valuable greenhouse gas emissions credits from the EPA just for using R-1234yf. So if you alter the chemistry, you are altering the exact emissions profile that car was certified under. It's a massive violation of federal law.
So to stay out of trouble, technicians absolutely must secure their EPA Section 609 certification. Sure, if you're a DIYer just buying tiny 12-ounce cans, you're exempt. But professional shops? You need 10-pound or 25-pound bulk cylinders, and you literally cannot buy them without this certification. The good news? It's painless. It just ensures you know how to safely recover, recycle, and recharge the system. You can knock the certification out online for about $20. No excuses.
Finally, let's hit Section 5, Specialized Servicing and Equipment.
When you're stocking up, you're going to see these distinct Opteon R-1234yf cylinders and cans at your local suppliers, but the industry knew they couldn't just rely on pretty labels to keep people from making potentially explosive mistakes.
So, to physically prevent dangerous cross-contamination, the EPA mandated completely unique fittings. Every single R-1234yf cylinder, machine, and vehicle service port uses left-handed threads. The old R-134A stuff, that uses standard right-handed threads. This creates a foolproof mechanical barrier. It's physically impossible to hook up the wrong tank to the wrong machine unless someone goes out of their way to illegally tamper with adapters.
And because of that mildly flammable A2L rating we talked about earlier, you cannot just use your old recovery gear. Shops have to invest in new equipment. Most importantly, you need an SAE J2843 certified recovery and recycling machine. On top of that, you need an A2L rated vacuum pump, manifold gauges built for those left-hand threads, and honestly, a good ultrasonic leak detector. These new systems are incredibly sensitive to even the smallest micro leaks, so you need the right tools to find them.
So what does the actual workflow look like? It's pretty straightforward. First, always verify the refrigerant type on the underhood label. Never assume. Second, recover the gas using your specialized J2843 machine. Third, when it comes to oil, do not just guess. You have to use the specific PAG lubricant designated by the manufacturer, because a lot of legacy oils just aren't chemically compatible with R-1234yf. And lastly, use specialized UV tracer gas and dyes designed explicitly for these systems to track down those leaks.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a question to really think about. Millions of out-of-warranty R-1234yf vehicles are hitting the road right now. Is your shop truly ready? Look, with the old high GWP refrigerants being aggressively phased out all over the globe, mastering R-1234yf isn't just about avoiding some massive EPA fine, it is literally the baseline for the future profitability and survival of your AC business. So make the investment in the proper gear, get your entire team 609 certified, and you'll be perfectly positioned to capitalize on this massive incoming wave of service needs. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.